Vilas Nitnaure, Principal of KC College of Engineering and Management Studies, Research, Thane. After that, I would like to give some information, introduction about our today's speaker. Uh, he is having total 14 years experience in teaching field and 4 years experience in industry as well and in administrative section. After that, he is having patent on combo sensor IC for health monitoring and GSM based wireless polyphase motor starter. Also, he is awarded as a best citizen by BCA New Delhi, and many more achievements. Because of time, it is not possible for me to discuss everything about him, but whatever we are having right now, this is what actually. So let's start with the webinar. I request sir to continue, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You can continue, sir.
Yeah. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have to start, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yogesh, sir.
Right.
You
Good
can
morning
start.
to you all. Good morning to you all. I, Dr. Vilas Nitnaure, welcome you all in the webinar on OBE and NBA accreditation process. Before starting my session, I convey my sincerest thanks to the management of Dattakala Shikshan Sanstha and my friend Professor Yogesh Andale, who has given me an opportunity to deliver talk on this topic. I really appreciate the spirit of the teachers that they have enrolled for this webinar with large number. It indicates their passion to learn the things even in the period of lockdown. Break the COVID chain, not the learning chain. Stay in, but stay connected for learning. With this, I would like to start my session. I request the organizer that I am able to see a lot of notification on the screen. I request them if they can disable some of the things. So probably it will.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
India has vast, wide, complex, and multi-layer education systems. If you compare the higher education systems in India with the higher education system in the world, you will come to know that India stands at third position just behind United States of America and China. By the year 2017-18, when the survey was conducted, we came to know that India consists of 903 number of universities, more than 39,000 affiliated institutes, and more than 10,000 number standalone institutes. During the independence by 1947, if you see how many students were enrolled with the institutes and the universities, you will come to know that around 2 lakh students were enrolled, and by the year 2017-18, this number is reached to 341 lakhs. In short, I would like to tell you that over the period of time, India has developed higher education institutes in a horizontal way. Now it's a time when India has to think of to develop this higher education institute in a vertical domain. When I speak about vertical, I mean to say that it's a time when we have to think about incorporation of quality component into higher education system. In America, there is one famous politician who used to say that ensuring quality in higher education is one of the most important thing we can do for future generation. When I speak about the quality, particularly quality practices, continuous improvement in technical institutes, in pharmacy institutes and management institutes. So there is one governing body in India which always come into picture, and that governing body is NBA. So my today's session is to make you aware what are the NBA accreditation process and how outcome-based education system is effective in NBA accreditation process. So in my today's session, I would like to give you information about what is accreditation, benefits of NBA accreditation. I will also tell you what is not the purpose of NBA. I will also let you know what is OBE, framework of OBE, what are the graduate attributes, what are various NBA criteria. I will also tell you what eligibility the institutes needs to have if they want to get the accreditation for 3 years and 6 years, what are pre-qualifiers, and towards the end of the session, I will also let you know what is CO and PO and how to do the calculation of CO and PO attainment. So dear friends, we are talking about accreditation. So it will be completely unjustified if you do not define the accreditation, definition of accreditation in brief. There are various people, various experts who have come up with the definition of accreditation. Amongst various authors, I would like to share the views of Dr. S.C. Sahasrabudhe, who happened to be the ex-deputy director of IIT Bombay about accreditation. What he said, accreditation is nothing but a judgment on the program. I mean to say you, institutes are never accredited. Only the programs and departments are accredited. So that's why accreditation will be applicable only to program. So what Dr. Sahasrabudhe says about accreditation, accreditation is a judgment on the program, whether this program is acceptable or not. The team has to be constituted by the apex body like NBA, and that judgment has to be delivered by the expert team. So to deliver the judgment, what that expert team does, they refer the rule book. In that rule book, 10 criteria are clearly defined. They go through the 10 criteria which has been defined by NBA and check whether the institute runs based on those 10 criteria or not. When the institute claims that we are running our organization based on the criteria which has been defined by NBA, so expert committee asks them, please show us the proofs and document evidences. After going through the proofs and document evidences, if they feel that the institute is running through all those 10 criteria which has been defined by NBA, then expert committee delivers its judgment. If the judgment is acceptable, it means that the program is accredited. And whenever the program is accredited, it means that the graduates from that program holds prerequisite skills, holds ability, holds engineering knowledge, attitude to get the job in the industry or to get the job anywhere, either in India or in the world. In short, if I have to define accreditation, so how do I summarize it? Accreditation is the process of quality practices and continuous improvement wherein the team of experts critically appraise the program under consideration and check whether that program meets with the standard norms and rules which has been set by the apex body or not. If I say that the particular institute is accredited, it means particular institute in the sense the program in the particular institute is accredited. It means that the program satisfies all the predefined norms of the apex body. I hope that I address accreditation by the best of my ability. Right. So when we are talking about NBA, so NBA is one body which was first time established by AICT in the year 2000, in the year 1994. By 2010, this body was become independent, autonomous, and this body started taking their decisions by their own, whether the decision is related with finance or the decision is related with administration. This body do not get fund from any other body. It's a self-sustained. It's a self-sustained body. Just a minute. I'm sorry. Right. So now we will see that what is the purpose, benefit, and what is the impact of accreditation. So whichever organization goes for accreditation, the basic purpose of accreditation is that it helps the organization to improve the quality. It helps the organization to adopt the quality initiatives, to adopt the quality practices. Now in the lockdown period, when all the teachers are sitting at home, they are doing their job. They are conducting online theory and practical for the student. So they are using various digital platforms like Google Hangout, Cisco WebEx, maybe Microsoft Teams, or so many. Maybe Zoom we are using now. So teachers are doing their job, giving the online lecture to the students. And this is what is being done by almost all the institutes. But there are some institutes, they are doing this thing what others are doing, but at the same time they are also very watchful. So some institutes have come up with some another proposal for their students. They wish that their students should definitely learn what has been prescribed by university, and at the same time they also wish that their students should also do what has not been prescribed in the syllabus of university. So some institute inform their teachers that there is one organization or there is one agency like Coursera who has opened the online courses for the students and teachers, and those online courses are free in the period of global pandemic, in the period of lockdown. So please see that you will identify some of the best courses for your students so that your students will enroll those courses. When the students will enroll those courses, students will learn what has been prescribed by university, and students will also learn what has not been prescribed but something advanced which has been given to them by the agency like Coursera. So such institutes is called as the quality institute, not exactly quality institute, but they have initiated the quality practices, isn't it? So accreditation motivates the education institute to focus on the quality aspect of quality aspect in the organization. So second biggest benefit of accreditation is that it helps to improve the student enrollment qualitatively and quantitatively. Dear friends, I was the part of admission committee last year. One parent had come to my college, my office, and asked me, sir, please let me know what is the placement scenario of your college. So I told him that our college is KC College of Engineering, and last year we placed our student in Microsoft, in Amazon, in TCS, and Infosys. So he was very happy. He said, "Okay, sir, I'm extremely delighted that you offer the placement to the student in such of the good MNCs. But I also want to know whether your institute is accredited by NBA or not." So, dear friends, I want to tell you that the status of accreditation, importance of accreditation is known everywhere, and people started realizing that the institute with accreditation status follow the quality practices, and our ward should be admitted in such colleges where quality has been given the preference. Funds. So the institute which are accredited are eligible to get the funds in the form of scholarship. For example, I am the faculty of my college. I have some idea which is called as the research idea. I want to develop that research idea. So I will write the proposal. But to implement that proposal, I need fund. So there are various funding agencies available in India like ISRO, DRDO, DST, plenty. So I will write my research proposal, I will submit there, and then I wish that they should give me some grant with the help of which I will be able to develop my project. But it's not only I who will be submitting the research proposal to them, there will be n number of teachers who will be submitting the research proposal to them. So if they have to sort out, definitely they will give importance to the problem statement, and the second importance if they have to give to the organization. If the organization is accredited organization, so definitely your proposal will have weight at the time of shortlisting. Accredited institutes also helps to improve the employment of the undergraduates. Dear friends, previously before joining KC College of Engineering, I was working with one college at Pune, Ambi campus. Ambi campus was located in the vicinity of Talegaon MIDC, wherein more than 1200 number of companies were located. So I wanted that my students should get the employment in the companies of Talegaon. So as a matter of fact, I wanted to get connected with the managers, HR persons of the companies. So one day I approached to JCB. JCB was located just 2 kilometers away from my campus. So I had been there to JCB. I had a word with Vice President of JCB and I requested him, sir, we are having faculty development program in our institute, and I request you please come to our college as a chief guest and address the participants. He accepted the invitation. He came as a chief guest. He attended the program. Once the program is done, we sat together across the table. We had a cup of tea, and then I opened what was there inside my heart. I told him that JCB is the brand, and I want that my students should get job in the company like JCB. So what he said, so no problem, I will be glad to give job to your student. But then as far as the policy of JCB is concerned, we do for the placement drive, we go for the recruitment drive in such organizations which are either government institutes or the organization of national repute like IITs or NITs. So I requested him, sir, okay, but then we are neighbors, we are friends. So if you do not help my students, which are located just 2 kilometers from your farm, so then probably who will help my student? After hearing my request, he said, sir, you just let me know one thing. Is your institute NBA accredited? So dear friend, the companies which are very reputed, branded MNCs, they also check the accreditation status of the organization before conduction of recruitment drive. Transnational recognition of degree is another benefit of accreditation. What is it? There is very famous story associated with IIT Kanpur. Sugandha was one student who had done his BTech in mechanical engineering in the year 1997. So based on his qualification, he got job in Malaysia, he got the citizenship of Malaysia, he started working with Malaysia, and then one fine day he wanted to become the graduate member with Board of Engineers at Malaysia. He approached, he filed an application and he wanted the membership from there. So they said that we value your citizenship, we value your qualification and experience. But as per the process of our Board of Engineers, we want to know whichever institutes you did your engineering, whether that institute is NBA accredited or not. So Sugandha wrote a letter to IIT Kanpur just to know whether IIT Kanpur is NBA accredited or not. So dear friends, I would like to tell you that if you earn or if our students earn engineering degree from accredited institutes, so they will have scope of development in terms of getting job, development in terms of pursuing higher studies, and nobody will raise any doubt or any question on the credibility of their degree. Okay, that is the biggest advantage of accreditation. The next benefit of accreditation is sound and challenging academic environment. Sound and challenging academic environment. So this environment will be created in the organizations which are accredited. What does it mean and how this environment is created? NBA says, I have 10 criteria. You satisfy all those 10 criteria. Out of the 10 criteria, one of the criteria, which is criteria number 4, says that faculty contribution. And that faculty contribution has 200 marks. So they want to know, if you want to earn 6 years of accreditation, then you have to score 60%. If you want to earn 3 years of accreditation, then out of 200, you will have to earn 40% of the total marks. What that faculty contribution tells us? The faculty contribution says that your faculty should hold experience, your faculty should hold good qualification, your faculty should have good research paper in their credit, your faculty member should have the record of writing research proposals and developing it in the institute, your faculty should have been authored some books, your faculty should be filed some patents or copyright. So the faculty members will have to see that their profile will be continuously upgraded with respect to these areas. When the faculty, and this not they do not have to update their profile just once in a year, but then this process has to be continuous. So when the faculty member will be in the process of writing research paper, writing research proposals, or finding some ideas who they can go for filing the patent also. So you can imagine what kind of environment will be there in such kind of organization. The environment will be very spirited, very motivating, very challenging. This is what is the biggest impact this NBA can create. Dear friends, you see that faculties are the backbone of the institute. If the faculty holds strong profile, I am confident that technically sound faculty members will produce high quality technical manpower. So this is what is the purpose, benefit, and the impact of accreditation. Right. So then what is not the purpose of accreditation? Okay. NBA committee comes to my college. There is a lot of myths going on in the mind of the education institute about NBA. So this slide, actually I got it from the official website of NBA itself. It's not like I have prepared this slide. Okay. So what they say that the purpose of NBA is not to find the faults with the institute, but to assess the performance. The purpose of NBA is not to criticize the working style of your institute, but let your institute to know their strengths and weaknesses. The purpose of accreditation body is not to demarcate the boundaries of quality, but to motivate you for its improvement. The purpose of accreditation or the visit of NBA committee to an organization not to select only institutes of national repute and appreciate all those practices of that institute, but their purpose is to come, see your practices, and whichever practice you adopt in teaching learning method, which could be the best according to them, then give proper exposure to that practice at national level. Right. So as I told you in my previous slide that programs are only accredited, not institutes, and whichever programs wants to get the accreditation status, minimum 2 batches of the program should be passed. Right. What do you mean by outcome based education? What is outcome based education? When we measure the performance of the student in terms of outcome, that way is called as outcome based education system. So what are the parameters of the student we want to measure with respect to outcome? So we measure knowledge, skills, attitude and behavior of the students towards either completion of the course or course in the sense subject or towards the end of 4-year engineering program. Dear friend, to elaborate outcome based education system, I would like to narrate 2 case studies. As a principal of KC College of Engineering, I always wanted that 100% placement of my students should happen. So in association with my training and placement officer, I do go outside of my campus and I love to visit some of the companies and then I love to tell them about my college, my department, the qualities of my student with the purpose that the company should come to my campus and recruit my students. So when I was having that thought in my mind, I approached 2 companies. I approached plenty of companies, but I would like to tell you about those 2 companies. One company was Simple Logic. So Simple Logic company is located in Vikhroli and it's an IT company. I went there. They said, sir, okay, sir, you are welcome. Principal of the college himself came to our college. They gave me proper hospitality. When we had an initial discussion, isn't it? I revealed for what reason I had been there in Simple Logic. I told him, madam, your company is very much vicinity of my campus. And in the past, some of my students were recruited by you. So we wish that this time also you should come and do the recruitment. She said, sir, see, this year situation is very tight, so probably we won't go for too much recruitment. Even if we go, we won't recruit more number of students. So you have to wait for our call. I said, no problem, madam. But then you please let us know that if you come to our campus for recruitment drive, what skills you want to see in my student. So she said that we are IT based company and as far as the current projects which we have got, those are based on .NET and SQL. So you see that if the date of the placement drive will be finalized, your student should be good in .NET and SQL. So what we have done, we have arranged pre-placement training for our students for 4 days, .NET and SQL. Their situation was very tight. They didn't want to, recruit students more than 2 or 3, as I came to know at the time of discussion. But when they came for the placement, dear friends, I would like to tell you that they recruited 9 of our students. Similar example I would like to cite to you is that Sankey solution. Sankey Solution is one of the very reputed company, and they used to offer the package in the range of 4.5 lakh and above. So I also had a word with HR of Sankey Solution. I also requested them. They said, sir, no problem. But then you see that our package is very high. So with respect to our package, we would like to see the quality in your students. We are basically deal with the Java programming. We do have plenty of projects, but the students will have to develop that project with the help of Java programming. Whenever we will be there in the campus, you see that your students will demonstrate us the best knowledge of Java when we will be having the test for them. So I said, okay, no problem, madam. So we have arranged training session for our students on Java programming. It was a 4-day session, and I tell you that session was conducted by our faculty itself. And dear friends, 3 of our students got job in Sankey Solution at the package of 4.5 lakh. Why did I tell you? Simple logic and Sankey Solution. I told you it because you conduct training, you conduct workshop, you conduct case lecture, but check what is the outcome of that. We had replacement training for the students, simple logic, 9 students has got the job. So outcome is that we conducted activity, impact of the activity, isn't it? Or outcome is that 9 students got the job. We had replacement training for the students on Java programming, 3 of our students has got the job. So whatever you do, whatever you plan, whatever you organize, you should know that what will be the outcome. Your outcome should be measurable, your outcome should be visible, and your outcome should be observable. If these 3 things will not be there in your outcome, your activity will not have any significance. It's simply a waste of time. So before planning any activity, you will have to give due importance on the outcome of that activity. I hope I address this meaning of OB in a right way. So the next thing which comes in our mind, why institutes need to follow OB? I have my education institute. I will run my education institute as per my convenience. I will run it as outcome-based education system or in process, outcome-based or any other process I want to run. My institute is autonomous institute. Why do I run my organization on the philosophy of outcome-based education? So the answer is Washington Accord. What do you mean by Washington Accord? Washington Accord is the international agreement which has been happened amongst the accrediting bodies of the world, isn't it? And as per this Washington Accord, or as per the fact of this Washington Accord, accreditation status will be awarded to only those organizations which follow outcome-based education system. Whichever organization do not follow outcome-based education system, they cannot apply even for NBA accreditation. And dear friends, I would like to tell you that our NBA, India, has become the permanent signatory of this Washington Accord. So whatever we do or whatever pattern we follow, we have to ensure that that pattern should be outcome-based. How is it measured? How this OB is measured? So outcome is measured at 3 levels. First level, ground level, course outcome. When the student completes some course, you check what knowledge, what skills, what attitude, what behavior changes has been happened. Once the student complete the course, the second level where we check that outcome, when the student complete 4 year of engineering program, and after completion of 4 year of engineering program, we check the outcome, and the name of that outcome is program outcome, isn't it? Then we check the outcome after 4 to 5 years, and that outcome is called as program educational objective. And in program educational objective, after 4 or 5 years, we check what career enhancement has been happened, what is the professional status of our student, isn't it? So outcome-based education system has been checked. There are 3 checkpoints. One checkpoint is when the student completes a course. Another checkpoint is when the student completes 4 years of engineering. And third checkpoint is when the student completes engineering after 4 or 5 years of completion of engineering. We take the feedback कि भैया तेरे करियर में क्या हुआ, तू प्रोफेशनली कहाँ पे है, what position you are holding, what salary you are drawing, what is what the emoluments you are earning. So that we check after 4 to 5 years under program educational objective. Right. As you can see on your screen, it is the OB framework. This OB framework is self-explanatory. I do not have to, explain too much. This OB basically consists of 2 verticals. One vertical is outcomes and another vertical is assessment and evaluation. Outcomes, course outcome, program educational objectives, mission and vision. So whatever has been mentioned in the outcome, except PO, all those things has to be modified, has to be changed. And to do the modification in the outcomes, you have to consider 2 important feedback. First feedback has to be delivered by industry and professional organization, and another feedback will be generated at institute level. When we do course assessment, program assessment, and institutional assessment, whatever we observe, we have to apply it to the outcome vertical. So based on the improvement and the feedback, the outcomes, mission, and outcomes could be modified. What is this? These are the 12 graduate attributes. Who defined those 12 graduate attributes? NBA defined these 12 graduate attributes. What is the significance of that? The significance of these graduate attributes is that if any student claim that I want to become a successful engineer, so the student will become a successful engineer, when the students will acquire those 12 attributes in his character, in his personality, isn't it? So that's why I feel that when the student get admission in any engineering college at first year level, when the students come first time in your college, you please list down those 12 attributes and give it to him and ask him, see that in the journey of 4 years, you will have to ensure that you have to develop these qualities in you, isn't it? And when you complete your engineering after 4 years, you check what you have achieved and what you have not achieved. When you accomplish all those 12 engineering graduates, then and only then in the market you will be known as a successful engineer. So what is the first attribute? Engineering knowledge. Being an engineering college students, we need to have engineering knowledge. The student should be able to analyze the complex engineering problems. This is the second attribute. Students should be capable to design and development of solutions, no matter how complex the problem is, but students should hold that ability to come out with some design and development over the complex uh, problem. Then investigation. Student should be capable to investigate the fault happened in the system. Then engineering graduates should be capable to use the modern tools which are prevailing at the era, isn't it? Whatever engineers will do, isn't it, the act of engineers should be addressable to the society problem. Engineering graduates need to have some sense of environment and sustainability. He will have to ensure that whatever he does, whatever development he carries out, he will always maintain the environment ecosystem properly. He should have a ethics. He should be capable to work as an individual entity, and if the time comes when he has to join some team, he has to contribute well on his behalf. Communication is the next attribute. If you want to become a successful administrator, successful team member, the most important thing is that you need to have a good hold over the communication. If you want that, you have to please your clients which are sitting abroad. So probably the communication will be the only tool which you can get connected with the people sitting abroad. The engineering graduates should be capable to manage the project and finances. And engineering graduates last should be a lifelong learner. Now, NBA outcome based accreditation. So I would like, in India, we have categorized the institutes at two categories. One is tier 1, another one is tier 2. So what are the institutes come under tier 1? The institutes like IITs, NITs, IISc, Indian Institute of Information Technology, central universities, state universities, private universities, and institutions declared as autonomous, they all come under tier 1 category. And tier 2, government colleges, government aided colleges, private self-financing colleges. Okay, so this is the category of the institutes under tier 1 and tier 2. In a very simple word, if I have to distinguish tier 1 from tier 2, so those institutes or universities who have got academic freedom, academic autonomy, those will come under tier 1. Those institutes who do not have freedom, academic freedom, I mean to say that they cannot introduce any course in their, in their branch, in their course curriculum. So whichever institutes or universities do not have autonomy to, to change the syllabus or to introduce new course, such institutes come under tier 2 category. Right. Now, after this lecture, I realized that accreditation is very important. I wish that my institute should also apply for accreditation. So if you have such thought that your institute should apply for accreditation status, so you will have to see that your institute will satisfy these 10 parameters, these 10 criteria, isn't it? All those 10 criteria has been listed down. So first criteria says it's a self-explanatory. I just move forward fast. So vision and mission. So you will have to see that your institute will form vision and mission statement, and with respect to the vision and mission statement of your organization, vision and mission statement of your department should also be developed. Then second parameter says program, curricular and teaching learning process. So you will have to see that the teaching learning processes which you will be using in your particular programs, those should be innovative, and some definite result should come out of those teaching learning processes. Course outcome and program outcomes, as we have discussed previously. The next parameter is student performance. Then fifth parameter is faculty information and contribution. We also had a discussion about this parameter. Then sixth parameter is facilities and technical support, isn't it? You will have to see that your organization should have sufficient infrastructure, IT infrastructure, indoor, outdoor sports facility, computing facility in your organization, so that your students will be properly groomed. Continuous improvement, you will have to see that if 1 year your faculty or your students will, develop some project, write some research paper, this practice should be continued. If, for example, 1 year, maybe 40% of the student has got the job, you will have to see that next year that figure should be improved, isn't it? If the package offered, average package offered to your students in 1 year is maybe 3 lakh per annum, so you will have to see that, next year that package, average package should be hiked further, isn't it? First year academics play a very vital role. Well beginning is half done. First year is the stepping stone, isn't it? Whoever does first year academics with flying colors, so probably according to me, or somewhere I read that the students, complete 40% of his engineering. So first year academics play a very vital role. Then student support system. to the student, support not only come from management or faculty, but student should get the support from administration, account, exam section, governance, institutional support, and financial resources. Uh, you know, this is related to principles and organization and management, isn't it? So these are the 10 criteria which has been defined by NBA, and for tier 1 marks are 1000, for tier 2 marks are 1000, isn't it? And then amongst all those criteria, the most important criteria is criteria 5, that is faculty information and contribution. I think that in my previous slide I told you it's criteria 4, but I just correct myself, it's a criteria 5, faculty information and contribution, who holds 200 marks. I want that my institute should earn the accreditation status of 6 years. So what I need to do, or what I should do, or what my institute should do to earn the accreditation status for 6 years. So out of 1000, your institute should earn 750 marks aggregate, and criteria 4, 5 and 6, 60% marks should be earned by your institute or department. You will have to ensure that to earn the accreditation status of 6 years, 30% of your faculty member, 30% of the faculty member of that particular program should be PhD. If you want that 6 years accreditation, so they have set one condition about the admission, and they said that 75% admission, this is the average admission of last 3 years, should be 75% for the program which has been considered for the accreditation. So when I say last 3 years admission scenario, average 75%, it means that including current academic year. Then at institute level, I will be having number of programs. When I integrate the admission scenario of all those programs, so average admission for last 3 years of all the programs should be 50% and above. Faculty student ratio in the department, to get the accreditation status, this is the mandatory condition. Behind every one teacher, there has to be 15 students. If you lower this ratio further, again, this is a good thing. Then required number of professors and associate professors for the program under accreditation, it says that the program needs to have at least 2 professors or 1 professor and 1 associate professor. HOD of the department should be PhD holder. So this was the condition for 6 years of accreditation. For 3 years, if you want to earn the accreditation status for 3 years, so what is the condition? Then it is said that your institute will have to earn minimum 600 points and above with criteria number 5, faculty information, and your institute will have to earn minimum 40% in that particular criteria. 10% minimum PhD has to be there in that particular program. Faculty student ratio in that program should be maintained at 1:25. Lower of the ratio will also be will be welcome. Then the program who seeks accreditation for 3 years, the condition is that the program should have minimum 1 professor. If not possible to have 1 professor, at least 1 associate professor has to be there. And this is the desirable condition that HOD of the program under consideration shall possess PhD degree. After that, we will focus on pre-qualifiers. So before applying for NB accreditation, every institute needs to check its eligibility, and to check the eligibility, they will have to go through the essential qualification which has been laid down by NBA, isn't it? Point 1 and 2 are self-explanatory, so I will not talk too much about this. Vision and mission to be displayed on the website, and whether your institute is granted extension of approval from AICTE or not. This is being done by all the education institute. The point number 3 is very important. Whichever program you seek for accreditation, last 3 years, the program needs to have admission status, average admission status, minimum 50%. And the institute, where the institute should also maintain the admission, average admission status for last 3 years. Again, it should be maintained at 50%. So program as well as institute should maintain the accreditation status of 50%. This is the minimum, pre-qualification for the education institute who want to go for NBA accreditation. Then faculty student ratio, they wish that 1:25 is okay. If you go lower, so probably it's best. At least one professor or one associate professor on regular basis has to be there in the organization. Then minimum 10% PhD has to be there in the program who wish to go for accreditation. And you will have to see that 2 batches of the program should be out in the market. I will, yeah. So this is the flow chart. This flow chart is self-explanatory. Whichever organization wish to apply for NBA accreditation, the organization will have to follow this flow chart. So what this flow chart says, institute applies for accreditation. So in the beginning, institute will have to submit 10% of the total fee and will have to also fill up the pre-qualifier and upload. Then NBA will check whether the program is eligible for accreditation or not. If they find that your program is not eligible for accreditation, application will be rejected. If they feel that your program is eligible for accreditation, then they will ask you to pay remaining 90% of the fee. They will ask you to fill SAR. Once you pay 90% of the fee and fill the SAR, NBA forms the evaluation team. Evaluation team conducts accreditation visit and submits draft report. This evaluation team, when conducts evaluation and submit draft report, that draft report goes to moderation committee. This moderation committee, based on the based on the report submitted by evaluation team, come up with their own comprehensive report. They submit one copy of comprehensive report to evaluation and accreditation committee, and also they forward one comprehensive report to the institutes under review. Evaluation and accreditation committee will have comprehensive report from moderation committee and also have the feedback from the institute under review. Based on that, they submit their recommendation to another committee, that is subcommittee of academic advisory committee. This subcommittee of academic advisory committee makes accreditation decision, whether the institute has to be accredited or not accredited. If any institute feels that whatever decision has been conveyed about accreditation, it is not acceptable, so they can make the appeal. They can make the appeal against the decision. Their appeal is considered, and the appeal of the institute is examined and evaluated by appellate committee, and then appellate committee submits their their recommendation to academic advisory committee, and then finally academic advisory committee takes the decision based on the evaluation report and the appeal made by the institute whether to grant accreditation status or not. So this is the complete accreditation process and decision making of NBA body. Just a minute. Now the last point of today's presentation. I hope my screen is visible. Right. So so far we discuss what is accreditation, what is the benefit of accreditation. Then we also saw what is outcome-based education system, how it is helpful, what are the various criteria of NBA accreditation, and we also came to know that what are the essential conditions to get the accreditation of 6 years and to get the accreditation of 3 years. So after that, I want to give you in brief how to calculate COPO attainment. What is the process of COPO attainment, right? So how do I do it and what is the importance of that? This is program outcomes which has been defined by Washington Accord and it is applicable for all the programs. These are program specific outcomes, right? So how to do COPO attainment and what is the significance of CO and PO attainment? Dear friends, as I told you, to become any person as a successful engineer, the person needs to adopt 12 attributes, 12 graduate attributes, and those 12 graduate attributes hello, and those 12 graduate attributes, whichever students will adopt, that student will be known as a successful engineer in the market. So then what we will do now, what actually expected from us, we have to I request I think somebody has given the right to share the screen. Hello. And I think somebody is showing the arrows also. I request the organizer, please see that the screen should be used only by the resource person. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we do? What is the importance of CO attainment and COPO attainment? In the beginning, we define our expectation that our engineering graduate should hold engineering knowledge. He should be able to analyze the complex engineering problem. He should be capable to design and development of solution. Then he should be able to investigate the problem. Lot of expectations we carry from the engineering graduates. Okay. So when he complete his course, so towards the end of the course, we have to see that how many parameters he is capable to satisfy. I mean to say that how many attributes and what is the level of that attributes he gained after learning that particular course, isn't it? So we check that how many attributes and at what level those has been delivered to the undergraduates. We come to know it towards the end of the semester when we calculate PO attainment value, isn't it? So in my this slide or in my this session, I am going to tell you how to calculate that PO attainment value. isn't it? So to calculate PO attainment value, there are two ways, direct and indirect. As far as direct way of calculating PO attainment is concerned, there are internal assessment and assessment by university together comes into picture, and in direct assessment, course exit survey comes into picture. Some organization, apart from course exit survey, they also take the feedback from the professional society. But here I didn't add. I just consider course exit survey as the way of taking the feedback from the student once the student complete their course. So to calculate CO and PO attainment, there are some ways which everybody needs to follow. So these are the steps. First, target setting of CO attainment for internal university and course exit survey, formulation of course outcome, CO/PO mapping, internal assessment, program articulation matrix, internal assessment CO/PO attainment, university CO/PO attainment, final direct PO attainment, direct indirect attainment, feedback CO/PO attainment, final attainment value, and target level versus attainment level value. So let us discuss each step one by one. So step one says that you have to set the target for CO. So how to set the target for CO? To set the target of CO, it is advisable that, dear friends, I would like to tell you that this is absolutely subjective method, and this method varies from one institute to another institute. This method also varies from one teacher to another teacher. It altogether depends on the perspective of each teacher. So if I have to set the target for CO, so what methodology I understood from various presentations also I am going to narrate in front of you. So to set the target value for CO, you have to see the result of the subject for past 2 years. Calculate the average of the past year results, isn't it? If the subject is new, so under such circumstances, you will have to see that whichever is the prerequisite subject required for the particular course, you can also consider the result of that particular subject. Okay, and then you will have to reach to the conclusion that what target you have to set for CO. Actually, this method is very lengthy, so I cannot explain you each and every calculation. Wherever whichever points are very important, I will only highlight those points. So then CO attainment has to be, target has to be set for CO attainment at 3 levels: university exam, internal assessment, and course exit. And to set this target, we have referred the result of past 2 academic year for the same subject, right? So what I came to know that if 40% students score 50% marks in the final examination, so level will be 1. If 50% students will score 50% mark in the final examination, so then level will be 2. If the 60% students score 50% mark in the final examination, then probably level is 3. So this is university examination is bit tough, so that's why my target is at lower side. Internal assessment, for internal assessment my target level is bit high, so here I raised the bar by 10 points. Instead of 40%, I made here 50%. 50% student score marks equal to 60%, then attainment level is 1. 60% students score marks equal to 60%, then level is 2. And if 70% students scores mark equal to 60%, then my level is 3. So course exit survey is again internal survey, so I again raised the bar by 10 points. So instead of 60%, I came to know, I came here 70% for 1, 80% for 2, and 90% for 3. Okay. Step 2. In step 2, you will have to define course outcome for the subject. You will have to see that while defining course outcome, you will have to follow the Bloom taxonomy. As you move towards the upper side of the ladder, isn't it? Your course outcome will be treated as the solid course outcome, isn't it? So these are the course outcome which has been drafted based on the Bloom taxonomy. The next point is you will have to you will have to decide the weight to your course outcome. Okay? Here I have taken one subject. This is microcontroller. This microcontroller subject consists of 6 units, isn't it? So what I have done for the ease of calculation, I have ensured that one module or one unit will correspond to one course outcome. So there are 6 modules. So 6 module or 6 course outcome, isn't it? So here this 12 indicates that number of hours required to complete this course outcome. Okay, 8 indicates that to complete CO2, 8 hours are required. To complete CO3, 6 hours are required, like this, isn't it? And this 25 indicates the weightage for each course outcome. So if 12 hours are required, it means that 25% weightage is given to CO1, 66.6% weightage is given to CO2, like this. So number of hours required to complete particular unit, it is given by the affiliating university itself. So most of the universities give it. So I don't think that we have to take too much of efforts, but still I feel that if it is not given, so probably weightage to COs should be calculated. Now COPO mapping, it's very generic and probably you people would be aware of it, isn't it? We have 6 COs, each CO is equivalent to 1 unit, and we have 12 POs. You will have to map CO with PO. By the way, if CO is strongly mapped, then level is 3. If it is moderately, level is 2, and if it is slightly, so level is 1. Then step number 4, internal assessment, isn't it? So this microcontroller subject belongs to Mumbai University, and as far as pattern of Mumbai University is concerned, we do have we do conduct 2 types of examination. One is internal exam, another one is university exam. In internal exam, we do conduct class tests. So there are 2 class tests are conducted in each semester. So class test 1 and class test 2. So when I say that CO1 is 39.2%, this is the internal. This is the internal assessment. So 39.2 indicates that 39.2% of students scored 60% and above, because we have set the bar of 60%. And when we say that 79.7% for CO2, it means that 79.7% of the student have scored 60% in question number 2. 22.4% in Q3 indicates that 22.4 students, 22.4% of the students score 60% and above in question 3, and then we have come up with the average. Okay. Then internal, when I speak about the internal, so it consists of class test and assignment. So we do conduct 2 assignments, assignment 1 and assignment 2. So CO1 is 98%. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So CO1 is 98%. It means that 98% of the students secure 60%
हेलो
and above. Hello,
सर, स्क्रीन आपका नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है सर. जो
my screen is not visible.
हाँ पीपीटी नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है सर आपका.
The PPT.
No, my screen is visible or not?
Yes sir.
Screen
Only
is visible, sir, but presentation is not there.
No, but I am showing you one PDF document. Is it visible?
Uh, PDF is not open, sir. Can you please click on that again?
Even PDF is not visible.
No, sir.
PDF is not visible, sir.
Is it visible now?
no sir.
It's not visible.
No sir.
PDF is not open, sir.
Not visible.
No, sir.
So you have given the right only to me, na? Hello.
Hello.
This right has been given to me only or somebody else?
Open, sir.
Hello.
Is it visible,
Hello.
sir?
No, sir. Popat, sir, are you there?
Hello sir.
Popat, sir, the right is given to the speaker only or any other one?
No, only for writer sir. Sir, you just open PPT's file. PPTs sir.
PPT is done. Actually, I want to show PDF.
Okay.
Not visible, sir.
No, sir.
Now PPT.
Yes, we can see the PPT.
Oh yeah. What is the problem? Actually, my PPT is almost done. Okay. I wanted to show you. Now visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's visible now?
Yes, sir.
Visible, sir.
Oh. Right. So, yes, so wherever I left, I will start from there. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, right. So, I want to calculate PO attainment value. Why do I need to calculate PO attainment value? Because towards the end of 4-year engineering program, I want to actually check whether my students has achieved everything which is required to make them successful engineer or not. isn't it? So when I calculate PU attainment value, that actually tell me that uh, 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 your students, where your students are like, whether they are holding proper engineering skills or not, whether they are able to analyze complex engineering problem or not, whether they are capable to design and development solution or not, isn't it? If they have acquired some skill and probably some portion is left, so then how do you do it so that whatever gap has been created, that should be filled up.
Hey, put in.
So PO attainment value gives me the clear picture that after learning the course, isn't it, where your student is now standing in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills, in terms of attitude, and in terms of behavior. If there is any slight gap, isn't it, between what we have proposed and what we have acquired, so how to fill up the gap, isn't it, so that we could plan later, isn't it? So there are two ways, I want to say, there are two steps to attain PU attainment value. First step is direct, another step is indirect. So direct, when I speak about direct, it comes internal assessment and university. Every college is entitled to offer some internal marks to the student. So those marks are offered to the student via class test, via assignment, isn't it? So when I say internal assessment, the marks of the class test and assignments are considered. When I speak about university, it means that when the university conducts final examination, isn't it? So then where the students are standing in terms of pure direct, we have internal assessment and university, and in indirect assessment of the student. Once the student complete particular course, then we take the feedback from the student about that particular course, and it comes under course exit survey, isn't it? So direct and indirect, when we club together, we calculate the final PO attainment value, right? So to calculate final PO attainment value, there are some steps. Those steps I read sometimes before. Step 1, target setting, formulation of course outcome, all those things. So we will go one by one. Now, first step is you have to set the target for CO. To set the target of CO, isn't it? What you will have to do, you will have to refer the result of the same subject for past 2 years. If the subject is new, so it is advised that you can, you can consider the result of some prerequisite subject, isn't it? Take the average of the, subject of either same subject or prerequisite subject or both the prerequisite subject, and reach to the conclusion that what should be, the target for CO attainment, isn't it? So here I am showing you one case study for the subject of microcontroller and application. This subject belongs to Mumbai University, and with respect to this subject, isn't it? One is prerequisite subject, that is microprocessor and peripheral interfacing. So I considered the result of this prerequisite subject, and I also consider the result of the same subject but the previous academic year, that is 2017-18. Okay. So after doing lot of calculations, because I don't have I don't want to lose your patience by telling you lot of calculations and all. I just reached to the final stage. How did I set the CO target? Okay. So, dear friends, you must understand one thing, that everything is subjective. It varies from one teacher to another teacher. It varies from one institute to another institute. It varies from one department to another department. These are all the, these things are dependent on the perspective of the teacher understanding, isn't it? So now what CO attainment, or CO target I set for university exam, for internal assessment and course exit survey, it has been, noted down in the table, isn't it? So for university exam, what target I set? 40% students scored 50% and above marks. So level is 1. 50% students score 50% and above marks. So level 2. 60% students score 50% and above marks. So level 3. Internal assessment has to be done in the college itself. So instead of, is it visible, not visible? Hello?
It's visible, sir.
See, screen sharing option.
It's visible, sir.
Visible, sir.
Screen sharing option should not be. Screen sharing option should not be given to anyone. It's my request. Okay, and then for internal assessment, since this assessment has to be done at department level, so I raise the standard by 10 points more. So instead of 40%, I'm going with 50%, and instead of 50%, I'm going here with 60%. It means that in an internal assessment, 50% students score more than or equal to 60%, then level is 1. Then 60% students score equal to or more than 60%, level is 2. And if 70% students score more than or equal to 60%, then level is 3. Course exit survey, for course exit survey, I'm again going 10 points ahead. That is 70% for level 1, 80% for level 2, and 90% for level 3. So formulation of course outcome, isn't it? So as I told you, sometimes before that, you will have to follow Bloom taxonomy to formulate the course outcome. Most of the universities draft the course outcome right in the beginning. But if you think that you need some changes in the course outcome, so you are free to do that. But I request you to follow Bloom taxonomy. This 12 indicates that 12 number of hours required to complete CO1. 25% is the weightage. 8 indicates that 8 number of hours required to cover CO2, then and okay, and the weightage is 60.66, like this. This is the step number 2. Then step 3, COPO mapping. So you have given, you have formulated 6 COs. NB has given you 12 POs. You please map this CO with PO. Mapping is poor, so level is 1. Mapping is moderate, level is 2. Mapping is very high, so level is 3. Your table will be prepared like this in step 3. And in step 4, it's the internal assessment COPO attainment. So in internal assessment, we have to conduct class test. So this is class test 1 and class test 2. 3 questions were set for class test, and another 3 questions were set for class test 2. So here I mentioned 39.2%, and this is internal assessment. It means that 39.2% of the student scored 60% and above. 79.7, it means that 79.7% of the students score 60% and above. So like this is step 4. Internal assessment, another part belongs to assignment. When I say that assignment 1, 98% for CO1, it means that CO1 attainment is 98%, meaning is that 98% of the students score 60% and above. CO2 attainment 96%. So this way the entire table has been prepared. Then what we have done, attainment of assignment and attainment of class test, we have combined together. We got the average, and then probably we have come up with the final attainment value. So the final internal CO attainment value is 79.13. It means that 79.13% of students secured 60% and above. Then calculation of weighted CO attainment. Okay, so as we have done, I don't want to explain the calculations because again it will take some time. Now, program articulation matrix. So how do you create this program articulation matrix? We have to just take the average of all the entries of PO1, average of all the entries of PO2, and then this table will come into picture. Then internal assessment COPO attainment. So as I said that CO attainment internal is 79.13, isn't it? So based on this value, you will have to calculate the values of PO1 to PO12. So the calculation has been given. Step number 6 is university CO attainment, isn't it? So university CO attainment, we had set the base of 50%, 76.71. It means that 76.71% of students score 50% and above. Step number 7, university COPO attainment. Okay, so if 76.71 is the CO attainment at university level, so what will be the values of PO1 to PO12? So the calculations has been done here. Then here we have combined CO of internal assessment and university. Okay, so 79.13 level is 3 for internal assessment, and for university attainment the result is 76.71, so level is 3, because here we have come up with the strategies which I told you in the beginning. Now we have to combine internal assessment with university assessment. So how do we combine? Okay, so when we combine internal assessment with university attainment, that will come under direct PO attainment, and in direct PO attainment 20% weightage will be offered to internal assessment and 80% weightage will be offered to university assessment. So 20%, 80% we have combined together, and then we have come up with the final PO chart. So this is the final PO chart. In indirect attainment, we have given the sheet to the student, feedback sheet to the students. Okay, they have filled up and we have done the calculation. After calculation we come to know CO1 is this, CO2 is, so average of all those things is 91.07. It means that 91.07 percentage of students have secured 70% and above, isn't it? And based on that we have done the POs calculations, PO1 to PO12. Okay, now we have all three types of calculation, that is direct attainment values of POs, indirect attainment values of POs. Then you calculate 80% of direct attainment, you calculate 20% of indirect attainment, so 80% plus 20%, so final attainment value you will get it. Okay, but this is the reference value, reference standard value. So based on this value we have come up that how much attainment we have got. So PO1 attainment is 79%, PO3 attainment is 79.33%, PO4 attainment is 80%, like this. Okay, so based on the attainment value and the target set, finally we have compared target level with attainment level. So target was 1 for PO1 and attainment level is 0.79, so there is a gap of 0.21. So now it's a time for the teachers to give the justification that why there is a gap. So the teacher says that student knowledge and awareness for the use of microcontroller for industrial application is less. So if this is the observation, isn't it, to fill up this gap you have to propose the action. So the action proposed is expert lecture by industry person working in the field of design and development of microcontroller related subject will be arranged. Then PO3 target was 1.5, attainment level was 1.19, so gap is 0.31. So the observation of the teacher is student interest of design and development of real-time project is less. So action suggested by the teacher is teacher will demonstrate microcontroller based project to the student. Same way PO4 target was 3 and attainment is 2.4. Okay, so teacher came up with the with the observation, and here the observation is student find difficult to do interfacing. So the action proposed by the teacher is teacher will give them more practical assignment based on interfacing of microcontroller with peripheral. So here we are doing, what we said, what we achieved, and whatever there is a gap, how to fill up that gap, isn't it? And finally we will complete this PO. In the same way we have to carry out the exercise for PSO. Same methodology we have to follow. And this way we will complete our COPO attainment level, observation and action, isn't it? So a lot of calculations are involved. NBA is not a small area. It's a big area. Hello. And NBA workshops are conducted at various places for 4 days, 5 days, week, or 15 days, isn't it? Because of vast area. I just tried my best to tell you the processes of NBA in a short span of time, and I am confident that I will be able to address some of the important things of NBA, and probably it would have been understood. So with this, I conclude my session, and I convey my sincerest thanks to all the participants for patient listening and attending this session.
Sir, can we take the questions from participants if there is?
Yes, please.
पण पायाला हाणले त्याने जोरात. आणि तसंच पळत आला आणि पडला घरात.
Please.
लहान घरात परत फेकून मारायला. का कुणाला मारत होतं काय माहिती. सोनू माझ्या पाठीने गेलं त्यालाच मारत होता. तो मला लागला.
Hey.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Can you put your questions in chat box window so we can ask the question to the speaker? Popat sir, is he there? Yes, ma'am. Hello, Dr. Shweta, ma'am. Please ask your question.
Yes, yes. Actually, I am interested to know about the FE that contains 50 marks.
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Are you there? Hello. Hello,
Yes,
Nitore,
yes,
sir.
I can hear the question.
Yes. Ma'am.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
Actually, sir, I am working as a FE coordinator in one of the engineering colleges in Pune. I want to know about the bifurcation of 50 marks, which is assigned for the FE. Interested to
50
know
marks.
about that. Yes.
Hi, actually, see, because that criteria, I think it's a criteria number 8, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and 50 marks has been assigned.
Yes.
So under that 50 marks, they only check, isn't it?
Yes.
Course outcome, designed and developed by the faculty member. Then the mapping of that course outcome with PO and then your final course file, isn't it? That is
Actually,
one
sir,
area.
yes.
That is one area which play a significant role in criteria 8.
Actually, everything is provided by university to us now. What is the COs and what is we are working in the umbrella of SPPU.
Okay.
Their program outcomes, course outcomes, everything is provided by university. So what they expect from college side?
See, actually, what happened?
Yeah.
CO has been defined by university.
Yes.
So sometimes you will have to also see that whatever CO has been defined by university, whether as a teacher of that particular subject, you are convinced with that or not. If you feel that you need to do some modification into it, and if you want to set the CO at some higher level, so probably you can refer the guidelines of Bloom taxonomy, and accordingly you can modify the CO. But if you feel that you are comfortable with the CO which has been given to you by your affiliating university, so probably you can continue with that. It's not a mandatory. But then as far as drafting of CO is concerned, uh, those institutes which are affiliated to Pune University or Mumbai University, they come under tier 2. And in tier 2, everything has been defined most of the time, isn't it? So we have a less flexibility to do anything, isn't it? But then if your institute is autonomous institute, and if the subject has been introduced newly, so probably as a teacher of that particular subject, you will have to see that you will be formulating that course outcome by your own. So while formulating course outcome for that newly introduced subject, you will have to go and understand the Bloom taxonomy level.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, I am Prashant Kapure from Dattakala Group of Institutions. We have already NAC accredited institution. Is it necessary to have the NBA accreditation also, or it is equivalent to NAC accreditation?
See, sir, I want to make one thing very clear. NAC accreditation is applicable to entire institute,
Right.
while NBA accreditation is applicable to program. NAC accreditation is conducted by UGC, while NBA accreditation is conducted by AICT. For all the technical, management and pharmacy institutes, AICT is the apex body. So AICT says that we will recognize the accreditation status of your organization only when the programs in that institute are NBA accredited. So NAC accreditation is okay. It's a intermediate relief, but in long run, to get associated with AICT, isn't it? Even if you remember that when Chairman Dr. Sahasrabuddhe had been there in Mumbai at the launch of approval process handbook, he said that by the year 2022, extension of approval will be granted only to those organizations who has got minimum 50% of accreditation, isn't it? So in the long run, if it is engineering college and our apex body is AICT, we will have to give respect, to the decision made by AICT. So we have to go for NBA accreditation.
But sir, the eligibility of student admission, that is 50% for 3 years, is not possible. Then who we can apply for that?
Sir, see, I can't speak anything more on admission, but then this is the minimum eligibility of any organization who want to apply for NBA accreditation. So 50% of admission at institute level, 50% of admission at at program level has to be there, and that has been clearly mentioned by AICT in their pre-qualifiers. NBA in their pre-qualifiers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are welcome, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Myself, Professor Rathod VU from the Chhatrapati Engineering College, Ahmednagar, Nepti, sir.
Sir.
Sir, there are 3 questions, sir. My first one is difference between NAC and NBA accreditation? This is the first question, sir. Second question, which is the better, NBA or NAC accreditation? This is second question, sir. And third question is, what is the importance of a NAC and NBA accreditations?
Right, very nice. So first question, I think I address when sir asked me that our institute is NAC accredited. So do we have to go for NBA accreditation? Just for you, I repeat the same. NAC accreditation is applicable to institute, and NBA accreditation is applicable to program, isn't it? So when one or two programs of institutes are accredited by NBA, it doesn't mean that the entire institutes is accredited. Okay, so I hope you understood the difference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, right? So
Yes, sir.
NAC
Yes,
is
sir.
carried out by UGC and NBA is carried by AICT. For technical institute, our apex body is AICT, because AICT is the only supreme body who gives us extension of approval. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's why, and if they says that it is mandatory to have at least 50% of your total branches accredited, so then probably we will have to do it. It's a mandatory, isn't it? And as I told you, by 2022, our honorable, chairperson Dr. Sahasrabuddhe of NBA said that only those institutes will get extension of approval whose 50% above branches are accredited. So that way, it has become mandatory for us. Okay. Now, as you ask me, like, which one is better, NAC or NBA? So according to me, NBA is better because we do critically appraised the program, isn't it? So accreditation or evaluation happens program wise, and since NBA is our apex body, so probably according to me, maximum weightage should be given to NBA and NAC. What was your third question, sir?
Third is, what is the importance of NAC and NBA accreditations?
Yeah. So NAC, I told you, okay, it's a generic accreditation process, but in the biggest advantage of NBA is that, your institute will be secured.
Yes.
I mean to say, your institute will get extension of approval from AICT because your institute will go for NBA accreditation, isn't it? If you hold NAC accreditation and if it is not recognized by AICT, because as if now, as on today, this is the scenario. So they want that we want NBA accreditation, not NAC. So whatever, in fact, most of the schemes of AICT are granted to the organization which are NBA accredited. So whichever body gives us permission to continue our institute in the years to come, so probably that body whichever accreditation they want, so that accreditation, according to me, will have higher weightage.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question? So if there are no questions, I convey my sincerest thanks to all the participants for their patient listening. And if they have any doubt, they can directly address me. I will definitely share my PPTs with you all, isn't it? So thank you once again, one and all.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.